Listen to me. I can live anywhere I want to. You know why I live in this neighborhood? Availability. I want to stay close to everything. Because being on the spot, I can see trouble immediately. Trouble is like a cancer. You gotta get it early. If you don't get it early, it gets too big, then it kills you. That's why you gotta cut it out. Tavish? Huh? Come on. You worried about Louis dumps. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Worry about yourself, your family, the people that are important.
Well, I have to have that introduction for this next podcast that I've done with my cousin Vincenz, who's back in Jersey, and really had a lot of different possibilities where this was going to go, because last week was actually the 50th anniversary of the Flyers winning their second cup in 1975. Last year, we did our due diligence when celebrating the 50th, because we were actually there with Sam Carchidi, and we had Lou Nolan and someone who was actually going to be doing, hopefully they will do this soon for production. But welcome back, cuz, and we've done a lot of talking, and luckily my hand is a little bit better. I haven't been on a little bit of maintenance, but how you been?
Good. I mean,
how you feeling? I know you didn't have a good weekend.
When you get to a certain age, it's like you have good days and bad days. Or so I think I told you that this one guy said, when you get sick and you're older, it's like, do you get better or do you get worse? And fortunately, in our lives, you get better, but at some point,
we hope so.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and hopefully there is something we could do with that. So I actually used that opening scene because, we were talking with what's going on in the world and everything else and other possibilities. And even from my friend that you met him once, or I think maybe once, my friend Anthony from back in Atlantic City, he always had the same thing, even before during the movie. Nobody cares. They don't.
But what's the big thing? What was the big word that he used? Availability.
Availability.
And when you said that, I'm thinking, where's that? In the NFL, the line is the best ability you have is availability, which means if you're hurt and you can't play, you're no good. You're no good to me. So availability, very important.
Yeah. So, I think I've changed my attitude because, luckily I was able to do in the 2 years since I came back and we started the whole podcast thing. And it's actually been very, very good. But I think I want to go into another different, direction with this. And I think me and you doing this, I think we could go in really different ways. And not that I wanted to avoid it, but because, it's like the third rail, politics. So we could probably at the end, maybe do that, get into it a little bit. But then maybe after this, we could, talk about whatever's going on. So as they say, further ado, well, we have to still give the team that we invested our money in or our time that last week. Yes, it was. And as kids and guys and people grow up, they always trying to find their identity and what are they going to do? And luckily we found sports. And then with a certain hockey team that came into Philadelphia and was able to actually be at the right place at the right time. You're the one that you and your dad said, let's get tickets. How did the pickup plan actually come about? Because before we had to have season tickets because
no idea.
It was at 18. Yeah.
I remember is my dad and I went to, I think, the first season, a late game in the regular season. Then we were back because they only played one round in the first season playoffs. We went and saw the Rosaire Paymont hat trick where they won like 6-2, which I guess would have been game 5.
This is the first season.
We went back again. I remember we sat in the last, in the back. First season. So, and then we went to game 7. And the only thing I remember is the Flyers were losing by a goal, empty net, and the faceoff was down our end, but the defensive end and the offensive end. And the Flyers lost a faceoff, and all I remember is the puck going right into the empty net, and that was that. After that call, all I remember is in the summer we would, and it had to be the summer of 72.
No, 60.
How many years did we do? How many years did we do a pickup line?
Well, I'm just saying, how did the pick plan even came about? Because our first game was October of '70. Because I remember I think I had a permit. No, my dad would take me to some games, and it was the Montreal Canadiens against the Flyers, Worsley. That was our first game. It was a Sunday night.
Jean Jenner on score with a minute left. Yes.
Yes. So, but how did you say to your dad, and did you come to me, and you want to go into get a pickup plan? And
Because Franny also
that's right. Yeah.
did it. And now what I'm remembering is I was working at Blue Point Crab House, and I remember at the end
Not Crap
of
House. You
this
sound like Crap House. It's Crab House.
Crab House.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the last games of the season. There were two games. One, and I don't think you went to the game where Barry Cummings scored on a shot from outside the blue line. The Flyers lost 1-0. And then the Flyers lost.
That was the Eclipse game. That was March like 18th or 19th of 1970. No, I was the last game of the season, I think. And yeah, the drapes were open, and Bernie lost it in the glare of the sun.
All I remember is I was working at Blue Point, and one night the Flyers had a Saturday or Sunday night game, and I had to work at Blue Point, and I told them I had to go to a college interview, so I'd be gone for a few hours. So I watched the Flyers play Pittsburgh, and they were winning 4-2, the Flyers. And then I left the game to go to work like an idiot. And the Flyers were tied in the last minute with a goal by Greg Polis, I think, or Sillaps. So, yeah, we were there, and the Flyers missed the playoffs.
And I think you
we were there. We had so what did we have? We had the pickup plan for
2 years.
2 years.
2 to 3, because I think I remember it was a summertime, and you inquired and you got the invoice, and you asked me, would you want to have get the set of the 2 seats, would you want to do it? And I go, let me think about it. So obviously we had to have our little part-time jobs to pay for it, not that it was that expensive, but yeah, it's the best investment we have. And then, oh my God, was it the 72-73 season? You called me during the summer. We have to get by the whole season. And I go, what's the problem? So, because remember, they were getting so popular, there was no more pickup lanes.
So really, the first full year was the Cup. No.
No.
First full year was the year they made it to the semifinals. The Minnesota, Gary Dornhoff overtime game, and then they lost to Minnesota. I
missed it. I left.
I had a date. Some women you had to do stuff with.
Yes, I had a date, and I go, and I missed it. Anyway, it's another story for another day. But yeah, our conversation is that I'm originally from the South Jersey, Philadelphia area. My cousin Vince, he's the brother from another mother. We did almost anything sports-minded. We loved it. Hockey was our god. The Flyers were great. We were there for the amazing times in the early 70s and mid 70s. We're able to watch their games. And when they became, the powerhouse team that they were, and I'm showing this great defenseman who just passed away at about 83, 84, Ed Van Imp. And here's a guy who came from British Columbia, and he played for the Chicago Blackhawks. And they always had that first video when the team, they were supposed to have like a little bit of a parade or go down Broad Street with a new team, and there's people looking at them, who the hell are these people? And you heard Eddie saying, man, I don't think this is going to work. But then they said a couple of years later, what do you think now, Eddie? He goes, oh no, this is going to be my second home. They fell in love with the area, and obviously when you're a winner, they did march together. So there's a video clip here. As we said, we don't care. We don't know if anybody's going to watch this, but whatever. But for our memories, the first Cup we saw live in person in Philadelphia. The second season, telling you how crazy that now every game is on, every network's on. Tomorrow night is the Stanley Cup final starting. But it was the Stanley Cup final. It was at game 6. It was not nationally broadcast.
That they won the Cup?
75, yeah. So it was not nationally broadcast. it was just a local broadcast. I think probably, in certain markets it was shown, but it was not nationally. So this is like about a 3-minute clip of the last, if I could just pull it up again. You have to bear with me. I had a little bit of a wrist problem the last couple
Is
of days.
this Bernie stuff or is this just general?
Oh, this is everything. You'll see Bernie stuff. As we were saying, Bernie Perrant was phenomenal first year in 74. But just seeing these clips now just show how insane he was. And both times the games that they won the cup were both shutouts. So let's look back at Game 6 in Buffalo. I think it was May 27th, 50 years, about a week ago.
In case you're interested in interesting statistics, in the last 17 years, the Stanley Cup was won on the road 9 of those 17 years, including 4 of the last 6 seasons. So that may or may not be an omen. First goal of the game means little in this series. The Flyers have scored first in all 5 games. They've won 3 out of the 5. Puck fired by the Flyers defense. Jimmy Watson into the Buffalo zone. Dornhoff on the right wing, broken up, and here comes Gavermont. Lead pass to Robert. Fires at long range. And Perrant was handcuffed, almost misplayed it. It's going to be Perreault drawing against Clark. Clark wins the faceoff, but Jimmy Watson is pinched up. Perreault out to Korab. The shot tipped wide by the right pad of Perrant. And now it's Barber up the right wing, the length of the ice, as the Flyers clear the puck out of their own end.
Joe Watson along the left wing boards in his zone's end. Right wing pass at center to Dornhofer, looking for Kelly. Dumps it into the right wing corner. Bob is there, shot! And Crozier the save, although he was out of position. Now Korab out past Clark, out past Barber, storming at center. 4-man rush, 2 Flyers back. Into the right side to Perreault, shot! Save by Ron! Rebound Robert is wide of the open corner as Perrant went down. Now in comes Lawrence. Out of the penalty box comes Teddy Harris. Back to the point. Stanfield a shot. The rebound in front. Another shot by Lawrence. They scramble. It's loose in front. And finally dug out by Jimmy Watson. And oh, baby, how that one didn't go in. Here comes Jimmy Watson at center. Overskates the puck. Height plays it off to Lawrence. On the near side, Dudley on the break. Over the line, shot. Kick save by Perrant. Out come the Sabres, 2-on-1. Perreault and Martin with just Dupont back. Perreault to Martin, in, shot. Saved by Perrant, and he hangs on. Oh, baby.
There was goaltending superbly done by Bernie Perrant. Jimmy Watson of Van Epp up to Leach on the right wing, and he just flicks it to the right wing corner of the Buffalo zone. Kelly bumped behind the net by Korab. Kelly has it. Oh, but he scores! Bob Kelly for a case of tasty cake, and the Flyers are on the board. It's 1-0.
Kelly took a vicious check from behind the net from Jerry Korab, fought it off, got a screen from Clark, broke the puck free, came out on the backhander, fake Crozier, and then went long side with a backhander to make it 1-0. It will be Kelly unassisted at 11 seconds, and for Kelly on the playoffs, it's his 3rd playoff goal.
Dupont around to the far side for McLeish. McLeish can't clear out. Gavermont, the big drive. Glove save, where is it? Perrant finally finds a handle. He thought it was behind him. Kindrachuk blocks it, and it comes to the near side. Kindrachuk back to Clement, a breakaway. He scores! Bill Clement for a case of tasty cake, and it's 2-0 Flyers. Clement mobbed by his whole bench. And for Bill Clement, who sat out Sunday's game, that's his first point of the playoffs. And it comes at 17-13. Kindrachuk gets an assist. That's the lone assist, and for Clement, his first playoff goal, and it couldn't be a bigger one. 17-13, the time of the Flyers' second goal. It's been that kind of a series. Face-off, won. It's all over. The Flyers have won the second in a row. The Flyers have won their second consecutive Stanley Cup. Perrant and Clark with the cup hoisted aloft. And there's that clenched fist of Bobby Clark saying, "Attaboy, gang, we did it again."
Yeah, but we'll never see it again.
Well, it's tougher. I mean, back then it was 3 series. Now it's 4 series, and there's so many things. I mean, the people will watch this and say, "Look how slow they skated." It was a different era, but
the physicality of the game is different. It is a lot faster, but the dynamics of goaltending still haven't gotten better since then.
They haven't gotten better. They've gotten different. They've gotten worse. I mean, now you see the goalies with the monstrous pads and what they are taught.
Would you
is to
call
be
them?
very flexible.
Would you call them before Michelin men?
Michelin men.
Yeah.
Well, even watching Bernie's pads versus Crozier's leg pads came up quite a few inches above his knee. Bernie's barely covered the knees. When Bernie made that one save where they said it almost went through the 5-hole, I'm going, how did it not go through?
Yeah.
He had his stick up, and I think it was a Rick Morton shot from 10 feet in the slot. The best save, though, is the first one was Guverman. It was deflected at the point by Jimmy Watson, and Bernie makes the right side kick and then deflected it the other way, just missing the left side post. You don't see goalies make split saves anymore. That's gone. So, and people say, "Oh, these goaltenders today, they're a lot better." And I go, "Yeah, they're 6'5". They wear pads that are massive. Their upper body, it's like upper body armor now. Now the chest stuff is like your Batman with that stuff. They got the neck guard, I mean, God bless them. They're great, but they're huge.
We came from the era of. Now, only a year or two before that, Roger Crozier finally put a mask on. Remember, he was one of the last goalies to put a mask, along with Gump Worsley and a lot.
Who's the last one? Who's the last goalie to put a mask on?
Goalie?
Last goalie.
Wasn't it Crozier?
No, Andy Brown.
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
Talk about a lunatic. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, Andy Brown.
They all were, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so here's another video that was captured about maybe a couple months ago, maybe a year ago, with the remaining Flyers that are still with us, and just reactions of what they, think now all these years later. And there's one thing at the end that's very prophetic.
2025 marks the 50th anniversary of the last time the Orange and Black won the Stanley Cup. It's the focus of our final Flyers flashback, brought to you by GMC. GMC is proud to support the Flyers Alumni Charity Classic Weekend, June 21st through 23rd.
It's all over. The Flyers have won their second in a row. The Flyers have won their second consecutive Stanley Cup.
I can't believe I'm here after 50 years.
Seems like we won last year, in celebration, and it's been 50 years. It's incredible.
5 decades have passed since the Flyers accomplished one of the most difficult feats in sports.
We did it. We had a good goalie, But it's difficult. You're playing against teams who want to accomplish the same thing as you do, So you have to respect that.
50 years, and I don't know where it's gone, but the greatest group of guys I've ever been associated with, great teammates. We had success winning back-to-back championships. And, the one thing about our team was that we played for one another, played for the team, not for yourself. And we had a special bond there that worked out well for us as far as winning.
Much of the core of the Flyers' back-to-back champs was the same. But for Reggie Leach, the 1975 Stanley Cup was extra special.
I think for myself is winning my first Stanley Cup. I wasn't here for the first one. I was here for the second. And, to have the opportunity to win the Cup, because as a young kid, that's our goal in life, is to win the Stanley Cup. And for us for myself to win it at that age of 25, it was just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. It's still one of my highlights.
And there's that Clint Mr. Bobby Clark saying, "Attaboy, gang, we did it again."
I'll never forget our second Stanley Cup we win. We were out at Mr. Snyder's house and having a big party and everything else. And he said to me, he said, "Joe, this is easy. Easy, Craig. We haven't won in 50 years. But poor Ed is not around any longer. I couldn't tell him that, but it's been 50 years." And he said, when we won our first two, this is easy. I'll never forget him saying that.
50 years later, the immortal words of their head coach, Fred Shiro, seem more prophetic than ever.
What Chiro said to us about winning and walking together forever, when we get together, it's like we've never been apart. That's like there's players that I haven't seen 10, 12 years, but it's like we're still, as he said, walking together.
Well, I want to thank Philadelphia Sports, NBC Sports Philadelphia, for that great video. But what Joe Watson said, was a great defenseman for the Flyers, was very prophetic about what Ed Snyder said. It ain't easy. They were really great, really good,
It's harder,
and
and
not
again, it's
lucky.
harder now.
Yes.
Oh man, I
And
saw. It's funny. When I saw Reggie Leach, remember I used to bitch about him. He's like a one-way player. I'd kill for Reggie Leach now for a guy who just is a natural goal scorer. When's the last time the Flyers had a natural goal scorer? Long time ago. I mean, I don't know. Leclerc. The Leclercs, the Tim Kerrs. Oh boy, it
well,
is difficult.
back
And
even there's
the
no, he was
Flyers
right.
are.
Before that, they had Bill Flett, and even Detroit had Mickey Redmond, where a guy would be able to go over the blue line, take a slap shot, and score. That doesn't happen anymore. I don't see that. They all want to pass. They're all always making, like we would call it, the ice capade. What is it? The ice capade? They want it's almost like soccer now. They want the perfect shot. They
Yeah.
don't take that shot from the point anymore,
And when you see the playoffs, you're right. At times I'll say, why? Even when it's going point to point, it's like, take the shot. I know you don't want the shot to get blocked and have the other team come with a breakaway or whatever. But sometimes you're right. They just don't, like Shane Gostisbehere for Carolina. I don't think he's that good a player, but he's got some offensive skills. But I think to a point he got tired. He got scared of shooting, and he'd make too many passes. But it is hard. It's like a chess game, and then you're shooting against a goalie who is well fortified. It's an imposing figure on a 4x6 net. So it ain't easy scoring. And most times these are low scoring affairs.
With the final starting tomorrow, now I was able to follow it a little bit last year because I was busy. But now I think, I think this is what they want to see the defending Stanley Cup champions. This is their third time going to Florida. Can you imagine? The state of Florida has more cups than the city of Philadelphia.
Well, and then Tampa, 3 years ago, was in
COVID
3 straight. They won 2 and lost the third.
I know. But McDavid, that one goal he scored, he put it in overdrive. That was, I would call it Orish, like Bobby Orr. They put it into a different, or even Gretzky's. They would put it into
Interesting you put it that way, because somebody said, and I don't know, that he's been time he may be the fastest player ever. And then somebody made a comment about Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr just had a different, different skill level.
He glided.
David is really fast.
Yeah, it's so we are two very lucky people to have been able to watch the great 60s and 70s and 80s of hockey, from a 6-team league to a 12-team league, no helmets, no masks, to the highly efficient game that it is today. And we just had to look back. Now, we were not there because we were not in Buffalo, but it is interesting that, we did go see them in Pittsburgh in 73, and Washington. It's funny how, and that, how, we got I don't know how you did, but we got a big head. Like, we were going to go to Chicago. We were thinking about going to LA. We had part-time jobs. We were still going to school. Yeah. So my God thought, you're going to go to Chicago? Oh, that's nice. Oh, you're going to go to LA too.
We did go to Washington. I think the second.
That was 75. That was just a car trip with Carol. But it's interesting how a father doesn't have to demand. He just does things to make you understand. So what he did, he asked my mom, says, get the car insurance bill and give it to me. So he comes over. He says, okay, you want to go to Chicago? You want to go to LA? Oh, yeah, good. Take care of this too. Car insurance, because, I'm going to college and they're paying the car insurance. The car's paid. And it's like, rather than saying, no, you can't go. No, you're right. No problem. We'll watch it on TV. But yeah, we went.
I don't remember anything about talks of road trips to Chicago or.
What we did do, there was a company that sponsored away games. And 1 or 2 games we got it, and we were just looking through it and how much it would cost. And back then, it's still, for us, just working part-time would be a lot. But we were thinking about it, not saying we were putting money down, just the mere thought about, Nah, pay your car insurance first. So anyway,
How much was our airline tickets through Allegheny Airline to go to Pittsburgh?
$49 round trip, our first flight together. Look, it's a shame we didn't have any document, picture or whatever, but it was fun. It was just like, hey, we went on a whim. We went there, enjoyed the game, came back, enjoyed it, and it's
During
funny.
the energy crisis.
Yes.
The game started later, right? Like 8:00.
8:15, yeah.
And we had a certain, whatever the flight was, we asked the cab
and that
driver
airport was almost like where Valley Forge is. Not that close to where the arena was. But anyway.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it was a great experience. So, but, we're not going to dwell on the past. But as we find out, no one would whimper. Then when there's 50 cup, people go, nobody cares. So that's why we changed the whole. So we're going to talk about other things, but one more thing about how they were able to, I'm sure they, commercialize it. I'm just going to say one other little thing that one of their star players ended up doing a little commercial that you never saw.
This is no ordinary can of Canada Dry Ginger Ale. This is the Dave Schultz can. There's also a Bobby Clark can, a Rick McLeish can. In fact, there's 21 different cans, 21 different Flyers. For a limited time only, every Flyer fan can own the Philadelphia Flyers. Start your collection today, then mix them, match them, trade them with your friends. The Flyers always play great on the ice, now they taste great on the ice. Canada Dry Ginger Ale. It's a not-too-sweet soft drink.
So just a little pay, and I promise I will not do any more Flyers.
I had never seen that. Actually, he did a pretty good job with that one, better than the song.
Oh yeah, that was, look, when you can't sing, you can't make, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I want to go into different little vignettes about things, but I don't know. We originally were talking about, we love stadiums. I love stadiums. I love the architecture of them, the old ones when we went to Connie Mack. But then we realized late in the 60s that Philadelphia needed one, but then we always were reading in the paper, what's the new stadium? Where is it going to be? So there's a couple drawings and things about what it was going to look like and where it was going to be. And when one time I heard it's going to be on stilts at 30th Street Station. And this is a rendering of it. Have you ever seen this?
I never saw that.
That is amazing.
I'm trying to figure out. Okay, there's the
that's the expressway, and right to the left, the lower left-hand corner is 30th Street Station. It was built over the air rights.
Yeah,
train station, and that's where the Vine Street Expressway unloads into it.
I mean, it's over the tracks. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Well, almost like a Madison Square Garden type of thing.
Yeah, got you. Yeah. Wow.
So it evolved from that to that.
To almost that.
That's another depiction of that it could have looked like at 30th Street.
Okay.
And obviously none of that came true. But let's see, one other one. Where the heck is it? Can you imagine if they built this with a dome?
Wow.
Did you ever see that?
No, I never thought that they were going to.
It was always because they always said, because look at it, they had the overheads over Patterson Avenue from the Spectrum. Look at the lower right. You see the roof of the Spectrum, and they never built the overheads to the Spectrum, but they made sure they built the vet that they could put a roof on it eventually. You as a facilities management, but it's interesting how they were able to do it. And right before I was starting to put some of this together today, and I didn't want to put it because it was a downer, with the Astrodome being built and the new the new big multi-purpose stadiums, they all put AstroTurf in there. But then 5 ex-players of the Phillies died of brain cancer. And they were all Vukovic and
McGraw.
Yeah, and the latest one was about 2 or 3 years ago. And they were just wondering what the heck's going on there. But then they also said it not only maybe was that, but remember, what was it built on? that whole area down in South Philly was the original dump for the city of Philadelphia. And they built it over all of that. So who knows whatever toxic stuff was coming out. But obviously, thank God they were able to finally, build a great complex with grass for baseball in Philadelphia. Because the last one we did, we talked about, being at the second day, our first game at the vet afterwards. Well, I had to mention that the Phillies were now in Toronto, and listening to some of it because I watch it on MLB. But it's something that we actually did like 25 years ago, and Scott Fransky was talking to Ruben Amiro. Are you going to go up here? Remember the tower? We went up there.
We only went up we didn't go all the way to the top. We went, I guess, to that lower observation deck.
Yes, but that was high enough.
That was high enough.
And I still have the pictures, from the below and from now. It's an incredible city that, we went to the stadium for a tour. There was no event or game.
Exhibition Stadium, yeah.
The Sky Dome.
Is that what it's called?
The original one.
We passed by Maple Leaf Gardens.
Yes.
We went to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
It was a heck of a trip. I missed those trips.
Yeah.
So back to, here in California, I'm surprised because now I actually have the Dodger game on because it's on TBS because I'm blacked out. But when San Francisco and the Dodgers moved out to California, that Walter O'Malley was really great because seeing the structure of the Dodger Stadium is phenomenal stadium. And hopefully you can come out one day. They're going to be in Dodger Stadium in September if you ever make a trip, and they're going to be in San Diego in July. Anyway, but the first couple of years, Walter O'Malley would say, no, we don't want to be in that was called Wrigley Field here in California. It was a minor league stadium, 2024. He talked to the people at the Coliseum, and he made a sweetheart deal if they would be able to convert. I think 50 cents to $1 a ticket went for the rent. But look at that stadium in 1958-59. I think this picture is the opening game, April of 58, when they finally moved, to the Coliseum. And just seeing stadiums like that and hosting other events. So I had so many other pictures of Wrigley Field with football, Fenway Park with the original Boston Patriots before they came in New England.
Crosley Field with the terrace out in left field.
Yeah.
Love that.
I haven't heard from him in a while, but Russell Peltz is a boxing promoter. I was always wondering, man, during the summer times, they would have a lot of these boxing events out in stadiums, like in Yankee Stadium. And this was 1930, I think. Yankee Stadium's only 5 or 6 years. I forget who it was. But there's no TV. Unless you have binoculars, you might be all the way up in that, top level. You're not going to see anything. But just for people to be somewhere, it's amazing. A boxing match that was like 74,000 for that boxing match.
And they probably all wore suits and ties with hats.
Yeah, yes, with hats. Yes. And an amazing thing that obviously obviously people don't know me. I'm a big Beatle fan, the whole thing, how they started everything, but with stadiums. So, okay, that's boxing. August 15, 65 was a breakthrough for when the Beatles played at Shea Stadium. Look how small that stage is. Look how small that stage is. And it was over second base. You cannot hear them. And, a couple of years later, they realized touring was not for them. And that's why Candlestick Park will always be their last live performance in San Francisco at Candlestick. But bring it back up to like maybe last year. Now, this is Philadelphia's stadium set up for a concert. Now, I don't know who it was, but look at where it came. The technology came in 50 years. I don't know who the entertainer was. I think it might have been Elton John. But are those
the brown things out in the outfield. Those are rows of seats.
Well, yeah, the rows of seats on the field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
wow.
Because now I didn't have any pictures of us when we worked the vet for I don't want to even name for that concert, but because that had AstroTurf, how
It
hot
used
it
to be like
was.
right field, right center field where the stage was
Yeah,
at the vet.
yeah. So it's interesting. So I just showed the picture of the Coliseum for the Dodgers, but here how Walter O'Malley was. So here's the initial drawing or concept of where they were going to build when they got out of Crosley Field, that they were going to stay in Brooklyn. But look at this. It was going to be a dome stadium, maybe not a dome, but it was going to be 45, 50,000 people. And it was going to, but they said no.
Yep, town didn't want it. The
No.
mayor didn't want it. Yep.
But guess exactly where that location is. Now where the Barclays Center is. So and he said, well, F you, screw that. So anyway, it goes to 68. No, 65.
The Ashton, yeah.
Yeah, when that finally opened up. And we're looking at it because I always remember listening to a Phillies Astros game, or no, Colt 45 game before they built that in 3 or 64. And I hear Richie Ashburn going, the flies and mosquitoes are so big, they're going to take us out of the booth because it was so horrible, being down there, But then here they built
before they went to the dome, yeah. They used to be bad. That I remember Busch Stadium. You'd see those night games and you'd see all those big bugs. Oh my God, I can't imagine.
Yeah, so it shows how. Let's see what I got there. No, that's not. But going back to Philly, that's our complex.
That's the complex, yeah.
So what I'm going to try to do that in a month is going to be the 40th year of Live Aid, one of the greatest days that we've ever had. That trying to see maybe we could get some people. Maybe I could get maybe Ron Rabina, who was our boss and our supervisor for Spectre Guard, maybe what he remembers that day, and maybe some people in the media that about that, because there's a lot of clips of MTV, but that's the next one I really want to do. Of maybe have some other guests on, because that was an amazing. We didn't have any expectations of that day. Yeah, we worked for Spectre Guard, we're having a good time, seeing concerts, doing this and that, but that day, wow, I want to do the next one with you and then whoever else we could get on there.
Yeah, we got paid for what, like 16 hours?
5:30 to midnight.
11? Yeah.
Midnight.
Made what, $5.50 an hour? Oh baby.
$4.75. $4.75. So, our good old JFK, when it was still not decrepit structure. But I mentioned to you about I had a picture somewhere, I couldn't find it, the new Madison Square Garden being built. But this is the original garden before 68 for hockey. And I think that was...
Look at the scoreboard or whatever that is over center ice.
That's just lights. That's not the scoreboard was on the side.
The scoreboard I see is against the side at the center ice. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, and we could not, I figured, let me go all over. Well, we're not going to talk about other stuff yet, but going and seeing real wrestling. Bruno was
San Martino.
Wasn't he amazing? I remember
now see, you went to Ramblers games at the arena. My dad took me to see wrestling at the arena, and my first match I remember was Bruno versus Bull Ortega, and then the next time was Bruno Sammartino versus Gorilla Monsoon in a stretcher match. The loser gets carried out on a stretcher, and back then I didn't know it was real. And at one point, Bruno was getting ready to be carried out. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And of course, Bruno turned the tables. Oh man.
But I know
the other thing I regret is not going to a roller derby match. Never went to one at the arena.
I went to a few. I went to a couple, one or two at the arena. That's when I was dating a certain lady from South Philly. And on a Tuesday night, they used to have roller derby at the Spectrum once a month. And they packed it. They had 18,000. You had to get tickets ahead of time. It was insane. And it's amazing how that sport, I don't know, didn't survive, but it had a following.
Remember, it's not a sport. It's
an exhibition.
It really is.
Exhibition.
And yeah, so it's fun to watch, but at the end, it's kind of scripted. So, but I loved watching it. Pretty Judy Arnold.
Yeah. And not that I want to just shift gears and really get into politics, but it's just interesting about 2 weeks ago.
We've already been on for 42 minutes.
I know. And we haven't scratched the surface about anything, have we?
No.
Let me just see if I can get this one picture here. So, oh, yeah. About 2 weeks ago, when a certain performer, I call him Washed Up, that we actually maybe worked a game, that it was in Europe and talked about our current president. And it's interesting. On TikTok, somebody put this together, and I ended up getting 161,000 views on this.
Really?
Yes. And let me just see, where's the video? I think I kept it. Oh, here we go. Just bear with me. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. I forgot something. Now, this is 13, 14 years after our first, after the Flyers, but I found this ad for the
The red hot Philadelphia Wings. Final regular season game of Eagle League Pro Box Lacrosse. The Wings versus the Baltimore Thunder. This Saturday night, 8 p.m. on the Spectrum. The championship is on the line. The Philadelphia spirit lives on, and they need you for the 7th-man advantage. Box Lacrosse. High scoring. Hard hitting. Rough. Tough. See the Wings legendary John Grant, the incredible duo of the French brothers, and All-American John Tucker. The Wings versus the Thunder. The game is to win and survive.
Oh, wow. That's great. I mean,
now that says 1987. John Grant wasn't there in 87.
I thought it said 80.
80.
John Grant played for the first year, 74.
Right.
I think it was. I thought I heard 80.
Right.
So,
but here on that video,
brothers.
Yeah,
great team too.
That's before we get into some other things. We're from Philadelphia. We're going to do some other shows later on, but there's a lot of great commercials. There's a lot of great TV anchors that came out of Philadelphia. First one I can actually say was, Jessica Savage, who was a local host on a local station that I actually met through my first wife, Kathy, but then she went national, and then she had a tragic accident in the early 80s. We won't get into that. But some of the crazy commercials we grew up with that, people who grew up in Philadelphia will remember.
The man on the move with his Crazy Eddie portable blowout blitz. Get a portable TV, portable radio, video camcorder, portable phone. Get anything and everything that's portable on sale now. Remember, we are not undersold. We will not be undersold. We cannot be undersold. And we mean it. It's a Crazy Eddie portable blowout blitz. Get anything and everything that's portable on sale right now. Crazy Eddie, his prices are portably insane.
Not only you see in the commercial,
big ass phone,
but yeah, the products. Yeah.
The phone was big. I mean, look how technology's changed.
Oh God, yeah. Can you imagine now?
Now, who was that guy? I wasn't Ed.
It was a spokesperson.
That wasn't Eddie. What was his name?
No, the real Crazy Eddie's was basically in North Jersey, and that was through the whole, areas for those ads. But something that was really iconic, Philadelphia, was this guy.
You're number one at 901.
At 901, you're always number one.
Yeah! That's Crash Brothers, 901 South Street, Star of the Stars.
So
used to come on Saturday nights, 11:30. Local
Philadelphia
program.
had
Yeah.
this men's clothing store on South Street that they had that famous song for, Crash Brothers. It was a men's store. But Benny, and he has two, I think one brother or two brothers, but Benny was the marketing guy, and they did very, very well. And he was a, man about town, but he was in his, later years. So
And he had a hip. And
yes,
it's not a
and
men's store, it's a men's haberdashery.
haberdashery, that's what they always called it. But on my days of going to the clubs or whatever, and he would show up in a Rolls Royce, chauffeured Rolls Royce with a scantily clad women, and obviously he wouldn't have to pay to get into a club. But but he would never have lapels on his jackets, on his, he'd have them privately made. But then all his commercials were classic in Philadelphia area. And this is actually 1991. And I don't think he lasted that much later. I think he passed away in his mid 90s. But back again with Philadelphia, I only have this one clip, but being a Beatle fan, this was 1974, 75. They had an anchor for news, Larry Kane, who actually followed them during one of their tours and became very, very close with the Beatles. And after the Beatles broke up, he stayed in. So he talked to John Lennon because the WFIL had a charity weekend for, I forget, the children's charity, whatever, and they're always having celebrities come down. And he asked John Lennon, would you be? And he said, love to. So this is a little bit of a clip that Larry's talking about with John Lennon, how he came down very, just like a regular guy, and got involved with doing the local weather on a local TV station.
I told him that we were doing a helping hand marathon at the radio station and at the television station where I worked, Channel 6 in Philadelphia at the time. And I said, come on down. And he said, I'm going to do it. And I was so stunned to greet him at 30th Street Station, the main train station in Philadelphia, walking off an Amtrak train with a little overnight, like a gym bag with him. And then on Friday night, an amazing thing happened, as you're going to see right now in this video provided by Damon Sinclair, who used to be an editor there and is now a very well-known film producer. He had a handheld camera and he took pictures. John comes into the studio and the weatherman was off that night, and John said, can I do the weather? And there you see it. We can listen for a few seconds of John Lennon doing the weather.
We are about here. I had a stop to Scranton when I was 16, but I secured it. This is meant to be green, and this is the northwest wind, but if you do that, it falls off.
For Action News, I'm Larry King. Thanks for being with us.
Wow.
That is an absolute classic. I think there's another video somewhere of the actual videotape of him doing that. And he had no clue. He was just mumbling, whatever. And actually, that's back in the day when he said the weatherman was off that night. It was a weekend. Not all the weather people, like they're all scheduled now, everybody's rotation. Somebody actually would just always fill in and, just to do the weather. And that's, so there's other pictures there. So I think in other.
And you know what? You're right about that. I'm trying to remember some of the people who would fill in to do the weather. Boy, Channel 6 had some good ones. I mean, we know Jim Gardner or Jim O'Brien, but remember Bob Gale? He was good. Bob Gale was not too far after Jim O'Brien, a couple of years after he died. Really good. Did you notice Did you notice the lack of sophistication on the map? It was basically a tri-state map, and it had, I think, temperatures, placards that were magnetized.
Well, Jim O'Brien did a great. He said, we got a good guy here, we got a bad guy there. They're going to have boom booms, thunder boomers, but a good guy here, bad guy there. So we're already into 49 minutes. We're not going to delve into politics. We'll do the next one. I'm just going to just brush it a little bit back. Let's see. There was a video that a certain artist did a couple of weeks ago, and it was bad mouthing. I don't know if I could find it. Anyway, Bruce Springsteen was overseas, and he started talking about the president And I thought I was able to download it, but I didn't. But I have a picture of the TikTok. I actually put it on there, and if you look down the lower level, I got 161,000 views. And people didn't even do the research. Actually, Springsteen fell off a stage 2 years ago in Munich, Germany, and somebody actually put this together of him falling and then Trump pointing at him like that. Nobody called me on it. Well, yeah, it's been 2 years ago. And so it's interesting how that came about, that, all I'll say is Malcolm X was 100% correct in his statement, if you could read it.
I somehow have lost. I have to get. What are you posting?
You don't see anything on here?
No, I am trying to.
I still see you. What do you have? You see me?
I'm getting my screensaver. I hit something, and
well,
huh?
Well, we can leave it for another time
Yeah,
and do a whole.
Don't worry,
video on that. So anything. Well,
yeah,
we'll still talk about some other stuff politically. It's good. Maybe we won't even brush it right now, but it's
back.
Yeah. So
Now I'm back. Okay, yeah.
What do you see? You see anything now? You see me?
Good Lord, 52 minutes.
Oh, you know what it is?
I'm back.
I can see the little thing for your Wi-Fi is a little low because you break
Mine
up.
says 5228.
52? I'm at 51:58.
I have 5238 right now.
How can you be ahead of me? I'm at 52:02. Anyway.
Well, let's see.
Anyway, it was good getting back together, talking again. At a hey, it went with a whimper, really, because some people posted it, some other reporters, it was online, but really nobody cared that the Flyers won 50 years ago. We did because we enjoyed it, but we probably won't see it again. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Say that. Don't you feel bad for people that are 50 years old that have not been alive for the Flyers winning a cup? Ugh.
Well, it's me just even talking to some young kids, like, how old are you? I'm 23 or 24. They weren't even alive during, 9/11, so we are the generation that's really experienced a lot of the history of the United States and everything, going back to Kennedy, that we didn't do a Kennedy. Remember, we were supposed to do one in November because, we were there, because one of the things we do disagree on is the motive and, did the bullet made a left turn or a right turn, blah, blah, blah. But
I'll tell you what. I mean, I've told you many times, I went from being the Warren Commission person to the conspiracist back to one person. But with things that have happened in our government in the last few years, I don't know. I still think Oswald definitely was involved in as a shooter, but past that, there's a lot of other things that could have happened. I just don't know.
Well, to leave this one, and then we could start this with the next podcast, we get into politics. And obviously my Facebook page and my I don't put anything in my social media, but during the election, I posted this. And this actually shows what I really feel. And that's why I try not to get involved with too much, because a lot of this stuff makes me angry. Whereas a lot of people have no clue what's really going on. They listen to other things that are, TDS, they hate them so much that they'll make anything up and people believe it. But I think this is the one, and I think he was correct.
Here's my opinion. Trump is coming in for one reason. He wants to rebuild this country beautifully. Can't bribe him. I know that as a kid growing up. I was in the mob. I tried to bribe him. Never worked. What's on his mind is to straighten the country out. And I don't care if it's a man or a woman, whether they're good looking, ugly, skinny, fat. I don't care about none of that. What color they are. I care about their policies. Trump is a businessman. His policies are great. And I know one thing. He's a tough guy. I'm going to call him a gangster. We need a gangster. We need somebody against Putin and all of these they're gangsters. And if you're not one, they'll eat you up and spit you out like they did to Joe Biden.
You know, I'll leave it at that. And it's prophetic. When I heard that, I said, yeah. And he says, we tried to get into his pockets. We tried to bribe him. It didn't work in New York. And he dealt with those guys all the time. And that's why I talk to people.
Any one person who's got all the money in the world.
What's that? You're breaking up. Say that again. You there, cuz? Say it again.
It froze a little. I'm good.
All right, say that again then.
No, I froze, but I'm okay right now.
So repeat what you said because I didn't hear you.
You there?
Yeah, I'm there.
No, I just said I'm here. I mean, that whole thing with Sammy the Bull, I mean, you could, good Lord, you get into a conversation for 10 hours about politics, and Trump can't be bought. I mean, he, somebody tried to say, oh, yeah, you could be, somebody could bribe. He says, first of all, I don't take a salary, and he's not even taking the pension that the president gets. It's pocket change to him.
You know, these idiots that are out there saying like, next month is the 250th anniversary. They're having this big parade for the Army. But it just so happens to fall on his birthday. Now they're saying he's spending government money for a birthday parade, military parade. No, they're not. These people are so stupid, they'll believe anything. That's what's coming out. This was planned well before he became president again. And they're trying to say it's for him. And the ultimate was he's charging the government $20, $30 million for his golf outings. He owns the golf courses. He doesn't pay. And people are believing that. People are posting that, oh, yeah, he's got $20, $30 million to play golf. That's stupid to believe because they hate him so much. The TDS and the people that do that. He's a peacemaker. He's trying to. That's why he's befuddled now that the war over in Ukraine could actually escalate into nuclear war. When I'm sure. Did you saw that they bombed, 40 of the Russian bombers over there by drones? That ain't
scary.
Good.
Those drones. Some of those drones went 1,000 miles or more into Russia. I mean, that's scary stuff.
They're not the drones that take videos. These are the drones these are military drones.
Well, but they got 1,000 or 2,000 miles into Russia, and they didn't know it.
People don't understand. He's trying to be the peacemaker that we don't annihilate ourselves. He wants us all to prosper, no matter who we are, what ethnic background we are, what gender you are. He wants everybody to prosper, not kill each other. Because that's when they were saying to everybody, why kill each other? Let's all prosper. Why spend money on guns? Let's but the war machine that Eisenhower warned us of. And then I just watched with my landlord the other day, the whole series of The Pacific that was on HBO. It's now on Netflix. And he really wasn't familiar with it. And, John Basile, my cousin, he was a Marine. He was in Guadalcanal. And that John Basilone, who's, Purple Heart, up in New Jersey and out here, he was, a hero. But hearing just an absolute slaughter of human beings, no matter who you are, is just insane. And to the point of one time, he was on like my Uncle John was 2 or 3 machine gun nests from him. And there's the one thing that he did, John Basilone, because it got so bad, the bodies were so high, they couldn't shoot anymore. So he actually went out, risked his life, threw the bodies down so they had, clear shot to kill more people. And we are blessed because we didn't have to go to war. Your dad did. Before he passed, he actually talked to me a little bit about the battle.
I never talked to him about it. I never asked my dad about the war.
And
never.
He saw that I was just not, No, I was so into it because a lot of the Sunday nights we would be at your house or whatever. What are they watching? Victory at Sea, all the war stuff. That was even back in the 60s. So I had an amazing knowledge and wanted to know more. And your father finally he says, look, what they tell you and everything else. And he even said when it would be like October and would start getting cold from when he had the frostbite, it would start bothering him. And then the atrocities and everything that they had to witness and they never talked about. And Grandpa was right. He talked to me a little bit more later on, and the whole line of bullshit. He was smart. Got out of Italy before getting really crazy. He didn't want to go into the Italian army and invade Ethiopia. The hell are you invading Ethiopia? Even Hitler thought this guy's nuts. Mussolini was, what are you going to do there? It's crazy. So there's a lot more we could talk about. And I think one of my favorite movies, because my dad took me to The Longest Day.
Well, there's an interesting.
Go ahead, guys. I see you.
Yeah, I think we could do a thing. Like there's certain movies, there's scenes I don't want to watch. I can't watch. And usually I lump like Attacks on Pearl Harbor. I don't want to watch that, but the one I always think of is the first 20 minutes or so of Saving Private Ryan when they're trying to come up, Omaha Beach. It's horrible to watch. Horrible. I'll keep it. I'll silence it. And then when they finally get up and then it's okay. But oh my God, that's where you appreciate what these guys did.
And we always have our bad days, and you know me. I'm up and down sometimes, but then I look back, I watch that. I never have a bad day compared to that. Being the first boats going to Normandy, or even Okinawa was almost just as bad as Normandy. That's a bad day.
Okinawa, Midway. I mean, so many battles that if you wanted to read up on, you go.
No, look, that John Vassalon went back. He re-enlisted. They said, no, he don't have to be. He could sell war bond. Nope. And he died on Iwo Jima. So that's why. So to end this, maybe to have our next one, we could talk about how lucky we are to be in the United States and how people say that they hate the country. Without this country, this war would be this world would be a lot different environment because we're the ones who actually, there's corruption, there's all kind of crazy stuff going on, but we got more good here. They're trying to still get here. So I want to play one of my most favorite movies is Patton. And when I watched it at 17 in 1970, the closing scene with the music with Jerry Goldsmith was very, very, very instrumental for me. And you see George C. Scott not pretending, he's playing General Patton at the end of the war, walking his dog in Holland. But he talks about all glory is fleeting. So on that note, guys, I'm going to just play this. We're going to talk a little bit afterwards and plan our next one. Thanks again. It's amazing how an hour goes by and we didn't talk about anything, right? But that's why this is Talking with Cuz. We really enjoy doing this. We thought we used to do it on the phone. Now we're doing it on podcast, and we're going to continue this with other subjects. So until the next time, guys, we'll be talking soon. We'll talk to you again. I'm just going to play this ending of the movie Patton.
For over 1,000 years, Roman conquerors returning from the wars enjoyed the honor of a triumph, a tumultuous parade. In the procession came trumpeters and musicians and strange animals from the conquered territories, together with carts laden with treasure and captured armaments. The conqueror rode in a triumphal chariot, the dazed prisoners walking in chains before him. Sometimes his children, robed in white, stood with him in the chariot or rode the trace horses. A slave stood behind the conqueror, holding a golden crown and whispering in his ear a warning that all glory is fleeting.